How's it, everyone? So, if we can just keep it informal and feel free to anytime just go, hey, what the hell are you talking about? My name is Marcin, as Kobe said. I run a small company called Swarm Loyalty, and tonight's talk is about Rancher. And this Rancher thing, it's on the website. First thing you'll see is complete platform for managing Docker containers. But what is that actually? The cool thing for us was that everything was open source from like there's no proprietary bits and pieces. It is self-hosted, so you got to do all the manual labor yourself, and it's Docker-centric. It tries to do everything around Dockers, including Rancher itself as a Docker image, of course. But you'll see, you might pick up on a lot of bits and pieces that you're able to plug into Rancher are Docker-based. And it essentially lets you build a private platform as a service, which is what we've tried to do. Always want to write more code and do less DevOps, but just doing DevOps at the moment with Rancher. So we're a small startup, Swarm Loyalty. We're a very small team, and we're focusing on mobile loyalty solutions, and not quite at scale yet, but we are growing, and we've got over 3,000 active users every day, and that's a conservative number. And we started off with just running Node.js, and Closure is something that we've added recently, and it's what's actually brought us into this whole Rancher, I guess the quest that led us to finding Rancher. So we are still, we have Node.js services running on a bare metal machine using PM2, which is a process manager that is specifically written for Node, but it can run any process, I suppose. And we just found it a bit limiting when we needed to pick and choose a Node.js version for our processes, and PM2 just runs all of them using the default one. And you can overcome that, but it kind of just got us started, on that whole path of questioning. Like, are we actually, are we at the right level of abstraction? How do we add a closure service? Like, it's not really doable out of the box without hacking PM2 to, run custom scripts. And for that, Docker in itself is a much better abstraction. Just on the packaging level, it kind of lets you make sense of everything in a congruent fashion. But, on its own, Docker isn't the answer, or at least for me it wasn't. I was like, we still need some platforms, tools, and because we're small, it needed to be very easy to set up. So we don't want to write our own AWS or Heroku stack, but we kind of want our own Heroku. We want Git push to deploy. We're not there yet, but building everything around AWS just seemed like a little bit too much of I want to say vendor lock-in, but that's probably not the right word for it. And we just want to standardize on Linux, just using Linux as the workhorse. So if it's a Linux VM, then that can run anywhere, right? So other than Rancher, there were some alternatives. There's plenty of stuff that does Docker deployment at large out there. We looked at, I first started looking at Kubernetes, but then I probably gave up on when I don't know, I probably saw the first diagram and inside I just died. Tectonic was a hosted version of Kubernetes, Docker Cloud also hosted, and there's thousands of options on AWS, and Elastic Beanstalk was the closest for us because it's very Heroku-like, but around Docker. So one of the ones on my to-do list still is Mesosphere, the distributed, the data center OS. It's just been open sourced, and that's something that we're hoping that Cobus will do the next talk on. But I'm not setting you up, Cobus, just if you guys want to talk on, just go talk to the man. And there's lots of others. This isn't an exhaustive list. There's these interesting, stacks out there. I haven't had time to look at them, but they definitely look worth, reading past the homepage. And then, we're using Rancher. We're not fully on it. We're busy sort of strangling our PM2 apps and putting all the new closure stuff on there. But we definitely have a wish list. We wish we could get push to deploy pipeline, and oh yeah. Maybe this will be online. I don't know how valuable it is for anyone, but so yeah, git push to deploy pipe dreams. Some stability issues with Rancher. Just doesn't feel like quite. You just click and stuff works. Like it's still. They have got 1.0 release out. I think it was like a month ago, but it still has that kind of basically what I'm saying is that my gut feeling is I'm not totally sold on it as a stable bid to just pump into your architecture. So you didn't, if you run it in production, then I didn't recommend it. I just demoed it. So I guess what I want to do is install a server, a Rancher server, using a Docker run command. And that actually, Rancher server will be running in its own separate VM. And then we'll just get, I think for now we'll just start with 2 hosts running 2 services. So sort of getting like a load balance scenario where we just do a bit of load balancing and routing via the HA proxy, which is kind of bundled with Rancher. And then we're going to do a hot deploy or hot redeploy, upgrade of a running service, and see if we can, we'll see the metrics for how many requests get dropped. Okay, so I'm just going to get rolling with, we're literally starting from a blank DigitalOcean droplet. All it needs is a Docker image on it.
Only 55 seconds.
Yeah. So I do have some fluff that we can talk about, but this I wasn't expecting. I mean, I just clicked create droplet. It hasn't even started creating it.
The adverts all say it's 55 seconds or less.
It expects that you're on like real internet.
Oh yeah.
This doesn't work in app. So all we need is just a Docker image. A droplet with Docker installed on it. Sorry, not a Docker image. And all the defaults are fine. I just need the an SSH key for me. I'll create that. So what Rancher needs is literally just to be Docker ran the Rancher server, but in production you would want to do some set up and a database, a hosted database to store all your settings so that you don't lose it when you restart it on a different VM. So yeah, let's just SSH into blank Linux box. And then the command to run is just this Docker run here. We're just gonna Docker run their latest stable image from Rancher. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So I will be able to go to this once it's all started up. While it's pulling, Rancher is written in Java, so yeah, it takes a good while to start up. One of my uh-ohs with it. Like, why did they have to do that? Everything in Docker is written in Go, right? So here's a brand new install, and the only thing I want to do is just access control, lock it down so that the public can't mess up my demo. I'm just going to create a username and password, but it lets you do this with, as you can see, with GitHub, with Active Directory or OpenLDAP. Like, you want to deploy this inside of your company. So the so now that that's all locked down, first thing we do is create some hosts on it, and Rancher pretty much lets you choose. This is just some default settings of what the Rancher IP is publicly accessible on, so that the Rancher agents can talk to the host or to the Rancher server, rather. And we can create. It kind of lets you just select any of these cloud infrastructure providers, and DigitalOcean is what we're going to go with. We're just going to create a Rancher demo, and I just need to copy my API key, give it an access token, and just leave all the defaults on. And only thing is, I want to create 2 of these hosts, so we can do a load balance scenario. The gods of demo. Yeah, it is. Copied and pasted that wrong. Let's do that again. 2 DigitalOcean hosts and my access token. Now, it lets you do this for just if you've got plain Linux machines that you want to add. It lets you do that with just a simple command. If you want to add a custom machine that's that's not provisioned by any of these, you can just go to into SSH into your machine and just Docker run the agent, and it will connect into this running server of Rancher. So yeah, so these guys are spinning up. What Rancher lets you do is similar to Docker Cloud. You can set up stacks, application stacks, and we can just add a new default stack. I'll just call it services, and everything can just go in there for now. But in a real environment, you probably want to layer stuff into different stacks in whatever your infrastructure has. So we just got to create a services stack. And I'm going to open up these hosts in another tab so you can watch them being created. Cool. So like everything that you see here in the UI, you can pretty much do, as is customary with these tools, you can do with, there's a CLI that's actually available on Homebrew, or you can download it here from the UI, and there's also an API, so you can obviously automate everything that that the UI lets you do. Cool. So I'm just gonna just waiting for these hosts to basically spin up and be ready for deploying stuff. But I'm just gonna get into some details of what we're going to deploy. So I've created two just example Docker images that are just going to be our services, and one is just an arbitrary service that echoes the time and the host that it's running on, and then the other one is it's Jeff Bezos as a service. So I did JBoss as an example of here, and we've got. So we're back and we've got hosts. So these are two hosts, are two workhorses. They're just VMs and they've got nothing running on them at the moment. And we're just going to deploy our load balanced services. So we're going to have a load balancer as we saw in here. We're going to have just a load balancer running on one host. Just to keep it simple, we could do a load balancer on both, but we'll just have one load balancer and routing and load balancing the traffic of these services here, which are pretty boring, I admit, but these are just two Docker images that are created for the sake of this demo.
What does the service discovery program show?
What is the service discovery?
Yeah.
It doesn't have one. So you can name your containers, and it'll know, like if you want to talk to your DB from your web server, you just call them by name.
So how's it going to know how's the load balancer going to know what can handle the request that comes in?
So you configure it. So you're basically doing, you deploying an HA proxy, and the rancher asks in the GUI, like, what do you want to go where? So essentially, it's a manual process of here in the UI. I'm going to I want to run my service on every container, and then I spin up a load balancer after that, and I tell the load balancer what to route where in the next step. So I just want to run, for now, I just want to run the Jeff Bezos service, Jeff Bezos quotes as a service, and it's going to run on every container on every host that I have available, and it's just my image here, my Docker image, and it gives you plenty of options, like what you would normally get with Docker run on the command line. But we're just going to leave everything blank. We're literally just going to Docker run it, including we're not even going to we're not even going to expose the port. So to the outside world, this Docker container won't be visible, but it will be visible to our load balancer through aliasing.
Devops, is that just from Docker Hub?
So this is Docker Hub image, yeah. So these, I created these Docker Hub
What if
images
you
here.
want to pull from somewhere else besides Docker Hub?
You can configure it, and you can also give it past authentication stuff, because these are just public images.
Yeah.
But on our company one, we've got it set up where we log into Docker Hub, but you can also use any registry for it. So then you've got, so this is just our name of the Docker image. In this case, it's a public one, and we're just going to spin up that. It's just a Node.js service, and while that's spinning up, you can just add more, add the time service as well, just to show that like the routing works really. So let's go with time. We create that guy too. So you'll be able to see these spinning up on these hosts in the host view. They're still starting up, and Ryan should put something called a network agent on there to be able for all of these containers to be able to talk to each other. So even if your hosts are on AWS and DigitalOcean, provided like if you're in the same like area of the world, I found I could do a pretty good setup with DigitalOcean and AWS, just load balance they were both on the East Coast, US, and they seemed to work fine. Didn't give too many. I didn't pick up on any issues. So these are just services running without any exposed ports. We can add a load balancer to that. Just as I said, we're going to just run on one container and just call it LB for now. And it's going to listen on port 80, and then the default target port is 3000 inside the actual container. So I guess you have to know that, like what your mapping is. Public port on the LB is 80, and then it goes into your service that you've created. And these are the routing options that you were talking about earlier, and we can also do route-based. We can do URL-based routing. So for now, we're going to send everything by default to the Jeff Bezos quote service, and then we're going to send everything under, I guess, /2. We can just route it to the time service. I just thought, for the sake of the demo, like being a microservice, well, not quite microservices, but the idea of having just one service service your whole URL path, every single possible URL path on your server. It's a nice use case for us, at least, to be able to route these between different services based on the URL. I forget which level routing that is, but that's just getting unnecessarily technical. We just save that guy and deploy. So load balancer, pretty easy config. We don't have to say target port. There's already a default one. They're both running on 3000. Let's see if that works. So it's busy spinning it up, and this is the public IP that Keegan will hit when we try to actually upgrade one of the services. So this is, I'm not sure if you can see that IP, Keegan.
Yeah.
You can see it. So there's something that I'm going to just do here and just trim the quote down to like something quicker, something shorter. So I've put in the quotes, and also into the JSON I put in the host, like just a really short hash of the host, so we can see that it is actually getting load balanced across the two hosts. And I want to just do that in command line, just because one of my tests was failing because Chrome was downloading icon, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I wasn't getting my results basically because every second request was to the fab icon, and it just looked like I was hitting one host. Here you can see we're hitting 2. So if I just actually do this request in a loop, I can just hit it continuously in the loop, and you can, oh, sorry, that's wrong. It's just new line there. So you can see that every second one is the hosts alternate. Yeah, no magic there. It's just a round robin algorithm for balancing the request. And then we had a time. We also had a time service. So the time one was on /2. Also want to see that working, and the host is also alternating. So we have 2 services running on 2 hosts. So now the use case that I wanted to actually demo was 0 downtime deploys, because that's really, for us it wasn't the holy grail, but it was we just want to deploy literally 10 times a day if we, if we wish, and sometimes we do wish for that. So the 0 downtime deploy is really something that we needed to get right. So with the help of the Apache benchmark, just the command line tool, we'll just hit the load balancer with the bar. We just load it up with 10,000 requests, right? And then as we redeploy, so let's say that we want to make a change to Jeff Bezos. We want to make him say word before he says every quote. So we just work on our code, word, and then the quote. We git commit that. Git commit our change, and then we git push to GitHub. Docker Hub picks that up, builds the image. But just because it's on the free tier, we have to check that it hasn't actually just queued it. Just want to check that it has queued it. So hopefully we can just push it to, or we can just trigger the build. Just force it, otherwise I can just do a manual build from my machine, but normally triggering it manually works. I guess on a paid, no, it's still queued. Okay, well, what we can do is just build it manually from the command line. Just Docker build our image. And then just push it to Docker push it, because Docker's not doing it for us. And normally it doesn't take too long, because you have existing layers, and if you layer your image properly, then it just literally just needs to do that last change of code. But in South Africa, that is fast, unless you're mainlining some internet. Still not built. Okay, we've actually managed to push it manually. So instead of Docker Hub building it, just built it on my local machine and pushed it up to Docker Hub. Keegan, do you want to try just running that now, just to see if it works as, without without doing a redeploy, you're going to get 0 failures, and then we see how many
Yeah, it's very good.
you got 0 failures on the.
It's 1,000 commits so far.
Oh, okay, cool. So then, yeah, so here's, just to give you an idea, oh man, just to give you an idea, so Keegan's running Apache benchmark with like, I think it's 10 concurrent requests, and then doing like a total of 10,000 requests. And as soon as I'm back online, this is cheeky, but it gives me time to set everything up. Cheating in the background. Jeez. Do you think it's because I haven't upgraded to? Oh. Right. So back to Rancher, we have our Jeff Bezos service running here. It's got an upgrade button. So we're not quite ready to upgrade yet. There's some options that it gives you, like you can just stop a service and then start the new one, or you can start the new one and just slowly retire the old one. So we would rather we don't mind having 2 of the same service running. Part of the reason for that is that we didn't expose an external port. If we had, there would be conflict. But since Ranch is doing all the networking internally, we don't need to do that. And we need to basically just have this ticked, making sure that it pulls the new image. And we're going to go and upgrade, but before I do that, I'm just going to run a similar command on my machine just to have an idea of.
I think it's stuck. It's not.